How many viewers do you actually have, Sean?
Thousands and thousands,
Okay.
Lawrence. More than you would be the correct answer.
Deal. Fair enough.
Hey everyone, today we're here in Chinatown in Singapore. I've asked 10 of my friends to come along and meet the CEO of Embily card, Alex. I'm really interested to get their thoughts on the card. I've known these guys for a number of years. They all surprisingly have gravitated to crypto, blockchain, distributed ledger tech. We're also going to talk about what's happening in crypto and blockchain, and I'm looking forward to talking to them because, believe me, I'm confused. So let me know your thoughts. Enjoy.
But no, obviously like the crazy like buying toilet paper and so on, like please, that's like total no sense. And even like when it was like the week here in Singapore, I started having
everybody like so bad. Yeah.
everybody, and I'm like, what the fuck are you buying for? There was the guy on Redmart that bought 800 kilos of supply. 800, where do you put 800 kilos of stuff?
The other side of it, you need those sort of headlines out there to remind us all that we're in this sort of crisis situation.
That we're completely
so
screwed.
I think these people sort of in their own way are adding to at least creating a certain level of hysteria. Which you do need during this situation to basically remind you that you've got to be on your toes and be vigilant.
If it would have been that people are just like respecting the rules, and so like you have a knocked out and locked down, and you're like, just stay at home, don't go out, respect the rules, please. Be sure that you're washing your hands, all of those things. But then obviously you have like all the people, like here in Singapore happened as well. There was the guy, the Grab driver, coronavirus, 5 days working around and carrying people around.
Right.
Like, fuck off, dude. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're sick. Stay at home.
Yeah. You got to see this for what it actually is, which is the canary in the coal mine. We've had 4 or 5 of these outbreaks just in this century, in the last 20 years. H1N1, Ebola, swine flu, and now this. In the last century, we had 4 or 5 of them over the entire century. Right, Spanish flu, polio, there was a few things, right? Attack different sections of the society, right? Polio went after children. This thing's going after the elderly.
Yeah. And the 40 to 45 people nowadays.
Well, stop reminding me of that, Alex. You're just now giving me backhanders. But the reality is we now need to start to think about, as a global community, how to address this situation, because it's going to happen again and again and again, and we've got to basically come up with ways to deal with it a hell of a lot better than what's happened now. And the reward for doing that is obviously to avert what has just happened, which is we're losing trillions of dollars in economic value overnight. And this may be triggering the final throes of basically the legacy financial services system. I don't think it can stand up to this, and therefore it's going to fail. Deutsche Bank put out a report 4 or 5 months ago that reckons at that point in time that the existing monetary system was going to fold by the end of this decade. This thing may just push it over the edge a bit faster.
Bitcoin is exactly like taking a $100 bill and giving it to someone. You can't duplicate it in the process. You give it to someone, it's came from here, it's there now. It's no longer here, it's there. And that's what it is on internet. That's the value of it. It does not multiply strangely or with magic. It's just a one-to-one value relationship that you have and you transfer to someone else. So hopefully people will understand that and will start moving from this financial situation which doesn't make sense anymore, where we're just keeping increasing the bubble until it bursts like crazy, and going to a system which is, in my view, a real exchange of value that people believe in or not, but exchange of value that is not artificially inflated by intermediaries.
Yeah. I mean, what have we got to say to people who are watching this that were expecting crypto to rise as everything else crashed? Any comments on that, anyone?
For the past 10 years that I've been in Bitcoin, what happens is I noticed that there was a shift of fundamental beliefs from us being cyberpunks, from us believing that Bitcoin will be not just a store of value, but it will be a way of freedom in transactions, freedom in financial choices, allowing us to transact based on what we believe will be the value of our services, our goods, and so on. Now, that is or was the original look of Bitcoin. When people started pegging Bitcoin to fiat value, they, all of us who were part of this shit, fucked ourselves in the ass. Okay.
Fair.
Whether or not we participated, we were silent, we were helpers or accelerators in this. For example, exchange owners. Well, I hope we are. Yeah. So, yep, even though exchanges, cryptocurrency exchanges are regulated now, signs of collusion are easily found via chain analysis. Completely separate from the old financial market, signs of collusion are extremely difficult to find unless you're an insider, there's a whistleblower, or somebody high up, including the Rothschilds, get fucked left, right, up, down. So that's where collusion or cases of collusion gets discovered, including in Deutsche Bank, right? Yeah, and of course JP Morgan. Yeah, and HSBC. and let's name every other fucking bank in the world right now. Okay? Yeah.
Both of you are basically like saying that we are like on the exchange of value point of view. Obviously like the freedom, the unbanking type of things and so on. Like totally agree, we're all in the same industry, so no doubts on that. Now for the exchange part, hands down obviously, you get a wallet, I have a wallet, I don't have to ask permission to nobody, and that's it. On the value side, we get like the Bitcoin, so or every single other crypto, fully decentralized aspects, where obviously like the price is determined by like the agreements of like at least two entities on that, party A and party B. That brings obviously a lot of volatility in the market, and if you are exchanging the value and like you're thinking of like moving fully on decentralized and fully on on cryptos, you kind of like want to see your wealth to not fluctuate on like plus and minus of 40% every single day. So at that point, you will basically need a peg happening on a currency at that point, which at that point brings like on a concept like DAI probably, which is probably the only mathematical equation that I'm thinking about that is not pegged by like a centralized thing. But even with a concept like DAI, isn't that still partially centralized? So my point is like, how do we ensure the value for the people that are actually in the place by keeping that equation and that concept of decentralization as strong as possible?
Okay, we did a 1 million people case study. Don't ask where, but we did that. Now, we printed their own cryptocurrency for them. We gave them their own marketplace for them to list their services, their goods, and so on. We practically created their own financial ecosystem for them and left it for them to run. Now, these people, this 1 million people, have been actively using only their own money to a sense. Whether or not it's Bitcoin or something else, it doesn't really matter. And they have been flourishing and they are off the current financial ecosystem right now.
You could have said that about Second Life 10 years ago, its own economy.
It is. Okay, I'm a gamer in nature. I'm a professional gamer.
Right.
I believe in in-game ecosystem, in economies. In fact, I thrive on them. I built a business because of that too. Now, so cryptocurrency or even Bitcoin, right, is part of this creation. It's not a virtual economy. It is a true economy. Why? Because in our current economies, we now have QE, quantitative easing. It used to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have QE infinity. Yeah. What QE infinity does it takes, okay, so let's say for example, we just take $2 from Singapore.
Okay.
Right. And 10 years ago, I could buy a plate of chicken rice. Nowadays, I might be only able to buy a thigh of a chicken.
The rice.
Yeah,
rice.
maybe
Rice.
okay. I'll not be an asshole and say it's the rice, but but maybe a thigh of the chicken, and that's a problem. Why? It is not the chicken that changed in value or quality and quantity. It was this, and every time we give value to this, or give trust, or transact this, we are giving rise to greater and greater inflation of this bugger, which means a deflation of value of whatever that we can buy and such. It will always happen. And why we do that? Because humans by nature are lazy. We tend to want the easy, convenient way out.
Through printing of money, I guess.
It is easy because now we have somebody that does the trust for us. We can trust the person wholeheartedly and therefore we can fucking transact. But why can't the trust be on tech?
Each individual as well.
Yeah, individuals and on tech itself. Why? Because tech is agnostic. Doesn't care whether I like or don't like you.
Or even in Europe, you have more and more, even small quarter,
Correct.
3 or 4 streets that are organizing their own economy. Today, before they were using paper,
Correct.
to trusted paper that they had that was issued by a central little, council in the quarter to distribute, and now they're moving to crypto. You have the same in actually refugee camps as
Correct.
well, where you're using blockchain as a way to distribute aid or help.
Which is also what we did also
Exactly.
for
It's going to certainly allow people power
Yes.
to have more momentum in the future, but you still, we're not going to be moving to a completely decentralized society from a government perspective. We're going to be operating the way we are for the next few centuries, right? We'll still be nation states with their own central banking organizations.
That I
I'm not sure
can
about that.
believe partially, but not totally. Because why? Even nation states or even countries right now and governments are breaking down. We take a look at Malaysia. Malaysia is an awesome example, man. It's just across the borders to Singapore, and every fucking thing is breaking down. Most states in the world right now are failing
Right.
because of their financial ecosystem and because our printing of money is because of creation of credit, which is debt. This piece of $2 is because I needed to have $2 worth of debt created, and then this $2 is created, which means our whole economy is not entirely based on value creation. Correct. So it is more and more on credit, and which is what quantitative easing infinite is gonna do to us. And just imagine all the value in the world, just because of governments and banks, they can devalue you in any amount, anytime, at any speed they want. And they choose.
But you still need social cohesion. You
No,
still
that's-
need
that's the
you still
thing.
need
Yeah.
certain services as a society, be it military, be it hospitals. There's still a need to have
Yes.
a governing framework.
So we can arm ourselves because we want to protect ourselves. That's just something that some people want to do. We can not want to arm ourselves because we decided somebody's help would be better because I don't think I can shoot properly.
Or you think because arming yourself would be actually more dangerous
More
for your own
dangerous to
family?
myself, my
than,
family, and so on.
exactly.
Yes, but that's the idea of a DAO. DAOs can be structured where you can set the rules of governance, you can set the rules of your ecosystem, the way you interact with one another, your monetary policies and whatever. That's what a DAO is all about. And people get to choose and people get to truly vote.
There's a lot of scared people out there right now. We're in uncharted territory in many respects. From a financial security point of view, I'd love to hear your quick thoughts from everyone on what strategy should people be thinking about in this clusterfuck that we
Any of us is a financial advisor here. Like, none of us, everybody's gonna be like, can't talk, sorry. Do your own homework.
Well, we're not giving financial advice. We're this is a group of friends having a chat. We're all throwing different ideas around.
It's fair, but like, if I say, for example, are you bullish or bearish on blockchain? I would be like, yeah, I'm bullish, for example. If I'm looking at the crypto market, Bitcoin is the biggest currency at the moment. So if I'm bullish on crypto, follow with the same example, I'm basically giving advice on like, I'm investing in Bitcoin. For example,
Forget the compliance aspect.
no,
here.
it's actually
We're- this is-
very important because
well,
like you see,
that's one. We're not giving financial advice.
because
You'll be
get
talking about
tons of
retail
people
investors. We're
doing
talking
this.
about retail investors.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
retail
This is
investors,
us having
sorry, that's where a government can be useful, a regulator can be useful, is protecting people who cannot take their own decisions easily because of lack of education or because of whatever reasons. That's why there's this concept of accredited investors who supposedly know what they're doing and retail investors who supposedly don't know what they're doing, but it's important. It's important. and the scammers. That's why I believe in regulation for anything that is related to retail investors, because these people need to be protected the same way that they need to be protected from banks, the same way that they need to be protected from any investment products from the traditional capital markets or from the crypto market. So that's important. Retail investors need to be protected.
Yeah.
And that's where I see a role of governments and regulators.
The only dilemma is how do we protect ourselves from ourselves? So the issue that we're discovering or being taught right now is the planet's a bit sick. If you look at it from that context, and we're poisoning the planet through our industrialization. I'm sure there's going to be episodes somewhere down the track where either maybe through global warming causing issues with crops and food distribution, we may have famines going on. We may have to get used to living through these periods where hundreds of thousands of people sort of die unnecessarily or before their time. It could get worse.
Or move around.
Right, so I mean, I look at the financial markets not so much from the opportunistic nature of what is happening right now, but more from a perspective of what are we learning about what we need to do right now to basically smooth out this sort of volatility going forward. And clearly biosecurity from a global trade perspective are correlated and therefore need to be addressed. How to do that, so when you talk about the DAOs, I agree with you. I think they demonstrate an evolution in how technology is allowing for automation of policy within a financial services network. But at the end of the day, it's a tool. It's not the panacea to the solving the problem. You still require government. You still require people with foresight to implement policy.
Governance, not government.
Okay, well,
it's not the same thing. You can have a community governance that is completely independent from government.
Yeah, but you still need social cohesion and order. So you can't. Governments will not give up the role because the people should vote on how policy gets implemented in the future. That's the one aspect of democracies. So we do have institutions that work at a policy level. May not be perfect, as John F. Kennedy once said, but it's the best system that we've got. Now what we need to do is find out how we can leverage technology to further improve the efficiency of how we govern ourselves.
I think you're right, governments, countries will not disappear, but I think there is an opportunity to create governance across country, within country, within smaller part of a country that is completely independent from the government and actually works. Like it's already working today. It's not new, huh?
The problem with our existing system is that the ability for double accounting, fraud effectively, basically reusing assets that's multiple counterparties are laying claim on for leverage to get something done. But every time we try to do this in the past, like the gold standard is a classic example, they talk about it as, well, we got off the gold standard as it was some decision. It was a default. We're now going into a new reckoning, right, with the existing economic model. I think we're going to realise the same game is being played.
It is.
What digital securities and specifically what the blockchain and the ledger and the ability to support immutability and ownership is going to deliver at last is at least a system where the technology is keeping us honest, so to speak. And then therefore the way that we conduct ourselves in trade, etc., is going to be far more efficient and we will take out a lot of volatility that occurs in the system during times where it gets stress tested like this and everyone realizes that, out of 10 people, the music stopped and at least 3 or 4 haven't got a chair.
But are we saying that we should not ever have centralized in our world? I think it doesn't make sense. You will always have people don't want to manage their own wallets and private keys.
But that's the thing. Like,
I'm a custodian. So
that's the thing. That's why I find that super
As a
interesting.
centralized institution. I consider myself as an enabler to access decentralized economy. All the wallets I'm managing are decentralized. I'm managing them on behalf of my customers because they don't want to manage.
Yes,
That's it. But
That's where it's interesting, like, because you two are like
I don't
on
put
the
everything
side of
together.
that.
It's
But that's the thing.
Mine.
We are not on separate sites actually. I'm on his side, not on separate sites. That's the problem with whenever we start explaining decentralization. It sounds like everything must be totally
And
decentralized.
and if you individual needs to do
Yeah,
everything.
no, that is not true. But what I'm saying is this. Services that needs to be centralized, like for example, custodian services, I agree they need to be centralized. Why? Because, okay, obviously I wouldn't mind if all of you put your bitcoins with me, but that wouldn't be safe, right? Right? But if you put it in an institution where there are regulations, rules and regulations, which is why I am not totally against rules and regulations also, just in case. Yeah. What I am against is the power, the influence that after being bestowed certain trust on you, say for example, or even becoming a leader in the blockchain space, or leaders, or idols, whoever they are, they use their influence to
Shift the market.
shift markets.
Yep.
I
Make poor decisions.
openly have brought complexes by wanting to roll back the Bitcoin network.
Further centralizing.
Further
when not
centralizing.
when not necessary.
Yes, you get what I mean?
Yeah,
They are no longer role models. They have become the absolute monsters in which the larger communities have actively helped support and create.
That's fair, but like if we are the responsible to have created those people, and then like we had examples like the CEO of JP Morgan back in 2017, where he went like on live television and was like, Bitcoin is trash, price collapsed down, and JP was the company that bought everything out of that. So they make a huge trade out
And then
of that.
let me ask you this. Where were the regulators, since you say that, where were the regulators, where was SEC, and where were the other banks talking about collusion and talking about market manipulations when Jamie Dimon did exactly that? Where was the restitution to the blockchain space and protecting the retail investors?
I think this is the irony you see. I mean,
but
it's
that's the
backed by regulators are backed by people, and people are backed by it's used by people, and people who have their own beliefs.
Like,
I don't believe JP Morgan bought any. I think that's a myth. Some of their
really
clients, some of their wealth management clients put orders through, and their wealth management unit went and bought the products for them. Generally, they may not have had a choice. You know, you've got to support the client. But JP Morgan, basically the bank, and Diamond did issue this, said no one is supposed to trade Bitcoin.
But their managers did.
No, they purchase for their high net worth clients on their behalf, which is what a private bank is supposed to do.
Fair. That's like the legal version that obviously like save everybody's else. But you want to tell me that a CEO goes on national TV, trash talk everything, and after that 30% of the orders are actually set by the bank itself, and that's just for the clients. They bought 30% of the market.
No,
like,
I think that's a myth. The only thing that you could state, and Jamie Dimon alluded to it when he was actually making that announcement, is that his daughter traded it. Of course, the way he sort of said it, you thought his daughter was like
So her
12-year-old
daughter
doing it in her
30%
bedroom.
of the
She was running a fairly large portfolio as an adult woman, right? Basically in the Bitcoin
and nobody
space.
did an investigation whatsoever that a CEO say that and the daughter bought the dip and there is no investigation whatsoever
No, it's an
happening.
unregulated asset.
They are independent individuals.
Yeah.
Oh come
But I mean,
on!
JP Morgan is supposedly talking to
Consensus.
Consensus right now.
So what?
But they
They've
should
also
have
put
like
out
an
a
investigation.
78
I don't know what my
report
wife is doing with her
on
money. I don't want to
Bitcoin
know.
futures. I mean,
You're a very used
institutions are here. If you look at our space, I mean, what are your comments on?
They have already been here for 3 years. It's just that they don't say they've been buying out. Look at Coinbase. We have sovereign funds buying into Bitcoin through their associates, their family office, their private offices, and brokers, their subsidiaries. Whether they use it as a hedge, I don't care. But the fact is the institutions were already in for the past 3+ years. And most of us are still mucking around, playing around. Hey, the prices are gonna be awesome. Yeah, it's gonna be whales, and yes, right, we're gonna play leverage, and we're gonna have fun at BitMEX. Yeah.
Can I ask? Look, I mean, this is a highly complex conversation we've had here for a lot of people that aren't in the space. What you've just said there, let's maybe just something for people that maybe hold a bit of Bitcoin and are freaking the fuck out right now.
Yeah.
I hate seeing the exchanges getting their cut on bad traders, you know, waking up and seeing the price with, oh God, I'm out, and buying back in, and, you know,
Yeah.
I've been there myself.
The exchanges.
So what
are
have we
doing-
got to say to those people? What is going on with Bitcoin? Where you know, what is its future in your opinion?
Okay, now that's why I say Bitcoin has two separate markets. If you believe in financial freedom, the freedom to choose, the freedom to spend, the freedom to be able to transact, there is one market for you. Why? Because banks, governments and so on, if you want to trade within yourself, they can't do a flying fuck. Because we can have a government official come to any one of us and ask you, so I know that you have Bitcoin.
Yes.
Where?
But if you've bought it
You know
on
what I will say? I don't own the Bitcoin. It's on the fucking blockchain.
but does that
Nobody can.
I own a hash.
But hang on, but does that still apply if you've bought that on an exchange though?
No, it does not apply.
It doesn't apply.
It doesn't apply.
It doesn't, but the
That's
government
why
has
it's
taken
there.
it off.
Come on, that's
That's
the
why it's in
elephant.
OTC.
That's
Yes.
the elephant in the room right now.
Yeah. So
That's the elephant in the room.
that's why
with
we are in
CoinJoin.
OTC.
Is the elephant being tested?
The elephant being tested right now.
Yep.
No, I'm talking about for Corona, but go on.
However, the other market, remember, it's where Bitcoin is linked to USD and other currency. That's another market altogether. It's a separate. It's two different animals that we are talking about.
Yeah.
So for people who want to be in this part of the market, come. For people who want to be in this part of the market, also come. Why?
But Dunstan, don't you think it's an evolution? You know, of course, you know, acquiring Bitcoin on an exchange is the natural progression for most people.
It is.
What do you think we want to be saying to people right now? For example,
Why
I like
leave it
what
on the
what Alex is doing. This makes having some Bitcoin, if you want to spend some of it, you can. You know, these are sort of, for me, this is a level that many people can play at.
Yes.
What you're talking about is that next level up, and that's kind of why I came into the space.
Yep.
But at the moment where we're seeing, for example, a BlockFi flagging coins that have been through mixing or CoinJoin,
Yep.
I mean, where are we at from the sort of institutional adoption? That's the elephant in the room for me that people aren't talking about right now.
So this is where it's one of my personal pet peeves, because I do OTC and many of the buyers or institutional buyers ask me whether these coins are tainted, whether the Bitcoins that are involved are tainted in the transaction. So I will ask back the same question: what the hell do you mean is tainted?
That's why it's the
yeah.
elephant in the room.
Because
How
is
far
it
tainted?
correct? You know why? Because
So, what the hell is how
has
far
it
tainted?
been in a transaction? Was it stolen before and so on? Now, Bitcoin is a digital currency. Why are we giving room to people who have stolen certain Bitcoins, and when somebody accidentally acquires it from them and they don't know that these are stolen or these are tainted or whatever, and the onus is on these people, when the problem should be with the one who was involved in theft or the one who was involved in mixing.
But what does it really matter?
No, it doesn't matter, because if we take a look at the fiat that we have, I'm gonna always like to take it out again. If this was the USD, anyone has a piece of USD?
Yeah,
Right.
there is some cocaine.
No,
on it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I have
We know
Federal Reserve officers that tell me in the Federal Reserves there is so much cocaine on the notes, right? They actually really every half a year need to change the officers inside because the rest have fallen due to
Okay, so this
cocaine
is where your
poisoning.
argument falls down.
Did-
Because the cash-based system is renowned for being effectively something that you can use for drugs, for terrorism.
actually.
Basically, it's untraceable. The whole point about the digital assets
is
marketplace
traceable.
is that it is traceable.
Yes.
Then now, but the fundamental,
I'm with you. I'm with
the fundamental problem with Bitcoin
Yes.
is that underlying truth, because it was the first,
Yes.
has been violated. So
wait.
therefore, it may make it not valid. But basically, Bitcoin may be the equivalent to what CPM is. Does anyone remember what CPM is? no one's as old as me, as Alex pointed out earlier, because of my risk profile under this Corona situation. But CPM was the forerunner to DOS. And basically the DIS operating system, which Microsoft sent and basically caused the PC revolution. The reality is Bitcoin's value to this whole thing may have just been to prove a certain capability within the blockchain, but it may not actually persist as a viable currency in the future network.
You see, right? It proves when we use Bitcoin, it's because of immutability. We believe that because of the immutability, there is no double counting. Right. So
And transparency.
And the transparency. So yes, these are good. Now, when Bitcoins have gone through certain transactions, let's say 1 Bitcoin since the first mine, for instance, in the edge of time, in the crypto time, it has gone through multiple hands.
Yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
But I think it's a question of hops.
So
I'm sorry.
why does it matter?
No, it
Because
does matter.
it does.
If you know, it's all the technology exists to know whether the wallet you're receiving it from is the wallet that has been used for hack or money laundering or
Right.
is blacklisted. You have no excuse as a buyer to accept coins from a wallet that is clearly identified as a blacklisted wallet.
To me, the main KPI of the success of digital assets is going to ultimately be the total value of the economy that eventually migrates its way onto distributed ledger technology, right? Whether it's directly being generated as a digital asset or a security, or whether the information about that particular asset resides on the blockchain, but it may still be wrapped up in its traditional structures, but either way it can be managed by blockchain transactions. I can transfer off-chain assets with on-chain assets. I think that's coming. But the underlying products that define our economy aren't going to change overnight, right? So precious metals are still going to be worth a lot. They're still going to be generally great go-to areas, especially during economic crisis. We've got enough historical precedents to support that. And if you have, the way that asset management firms develop their strategy is they stress test over 20 or 30 years. There is not enough financial data for things such as Bitcoin or Ethereum for them to basically even consider those components within their portfolios. So if you were to say to me what's going to
Until
happen...
it hits 1% of the global economy, surely they have to...
Yeah, but before that
take a
happens,
position.
the industry will embrace the blockchain from a technology platform perspective.
Yeah.
Right, now-
And your winners there are Ethereum?
I think Ethereum's got a great position in the market. I think some of the private blockchains, such as R3 Corda, are very well established. They already connect up to banks. You might as well ask me how long is a piece of string, because
About that long.
it can go in so many different directions. I remember when when I was front and center in the dot-com boom. I remember when that started to collapse.
Correct. So,
And everyone goes into their denial phase, and then it just keeps collapsing. We're just going through a transition.
Alex, you're up.
The last 2 days, so I bought a little bit of gold, which is BTC in the crypto space, and a bit of future, which is Ethereum in my view. So same thing. I think Ethereum is getting along well with some real projects, which is touching what exactly you mentioned, trying to tokenize existing value in the world, which is real estate, equity, gold, and so on and so forth. And I'm desperately looking forward the ability to buy digitized gold. I know it exists, Digex in Singapore, there's other projects, but I still don't, I'm an old guy, so I still struggle to go from the old world to the new world in terms of my own investment. So yes, gold, Bitcoin, future, Ethereum, that's what I really bought this last 2 days because of the market being down. For the rest, I'm waiting.
I don't hold that kind of cryptocurrencies. I use cryptocurrency to transfer value. So for whole of my life in the cryptocurrency, all I do I transfer funds from one country to another country, and this is the use case for me as a cryptocurrency. So this is why I would like to make this cryptocurrency to be spendable all around the world. So basically like few days ago we've been shaking this fall down, and everybody was asking me what you do with crypto. Yes, of course, I lost some kind of funds in dollars, but of course, in that space, you're ready for these losses. For example, like if Bitcoin fall down like 50% in a day, nobody will like jump from the skyscraper. We are ready for this risk. So basically, this is what I think about this market.
My strategy is always the same. Market is bullish, market is bearish. I have a specific amount every single month divided in like not only cryptos, stocks, gold, ETFs, and cryptos. And every month I put in on specific allocation based on specific analysis and so on. So this month is exactly the same. The only problem is that the value of the portfolio is obviously like, it was better a month ago, I would say. For answering the question, so tons of stuff in the Steam blockchain. I'm honest. And hey, I love the Steam community, and good job on actually getting back on what the mess that happened on the exchanges and so on. Like, and then obviously like Decentraland. Lands were going like super on sales yesterday, and that Ethereum at below $100. Would have said no to that. I wish I would have like understand a little bit better on Bitcoin, because probably I would have like cash out, wait, and buy back in. Instead, I'm just like keep holding on the entire way. So on this specific crisis right now, my strategy is not changing. It's exactly the same as the past 5 years of every single month just accumulating and buy and hold. It's terrible, yes, I'm crying inside, like you have no idea how sad I am right now. But hey, hopefully
C'est la vie.
we're gonna survive, isn't it? Like, I don't know guys, to be honest.
Bitcoin to me is it's freedom of choice. Not really, I didn't buy it for the value itself, so I don't really bother about the price. Of course, we started since it was 30 cents, so anything else is an upsell. Yeah, still like maybe 1,000 times now. Yeah, if not more. Yeah, more than that. But you get what I mean. So but on my end, I do like commodities like precious metals, gold, vanadium. Is something that I think will be important in the next 10 years because of all the batteries, the new batteries that will come about and so on. So I believe that vanadium might have a way bigger upside in our current 10 years ahead. Gold is just because people like gold. I don't really like gold to begin with. My goal is Bitcoin. So yeah, no
That's
gold.
a nice color.
Yeah. So it's just Bitcoin, vanadium. If possible, I do agree that real estate and banking, stocks and shares would be a good buy for this next few years actually, because no matter what, the governments will have to bail out some of these banks.
No, look, the banks are going to be okay. The banks got stress tested after the GFC of 2008.
Tomorrow, 10 banks collapse down.
Yeah, maybe. And this is why I've only got 4 or 5 people that listen to me. And then after today, there'll be no one, right?
You know that
However,
the repo market just stands still like a month and a half ago, and the ECB had to inject I don't know how many million to make it.
And that
well,
to me,
you may smaller banks certainly are vulnerable. I'm talking about
Deutsche Bank. I'm talking about Deutsche Bank.
Deutsche Bank's been on its knees for the last.
Yeah, but it's
Guys, we've got one more.
yeah.
Actually, basically, I really agree with what Tungsten mentioned earlier on, that there are 2 types of people in the market. One is focusing on the financial freedom, the tech element of it, or one is more of the investing element of it. So before the average person wants to step into the market, they really need to understand what do they really want before they step in. Are you into it for investing purposes, short-term gain, or are you into it to set up a company, a blockchain company that's focusing on the tech? Because for us, we work with a lot of traditional companies when it comes to, because we're an agency, you see, we're an integrated agency, so we work with a lot of companies that's not just in blockchain space, but as well in traditional space. So when they heard that we are doing the blockchain element side of things, right, they're asking, okay, you know what, I really want to adopt the blockchain. Now before that, we were asking them, are you into blockchain just because you think that you can gain money from it through fundraising or what? Are you looking at it in terms of the technology element? Because not just the average person but even companies, established companies, I don't want the same names, but they are MNCs based in Singapore, ranging from telcos to luxury brands. They're saying, oh, no, I'm going to do blockchain. Can you tell me how I'm going to do blockchain? But what are you going to do? You know, do you really need blockchain? That's the main thing. And for us, we work with major consulting firms together, EY, RSM Group. We work with them. They were thinking, is there any real mature blockchains that's mature enough for large-scale blockchain usage within the company? Does your operation really need it? Does your logistic really need a blockchain? That's the main element of it, you see. Because for us, we are already focused towards technology investment, the technology aspect of it for the blockchain industry. But to answer your question regarding investment, yep, my portfolio is really similar to Dunstan, gold, property. But in the company perspective, DeFi, we do invest in companies as well, because we believe that we invest in people because it's less much of a volatility as compared to market, because there are a million people that's in markets. But when we invest in companies, we work together and we can see how we can work together on that. But on my personal investment basis, then yes, gold, property, because it's much more stable, like what you have mentioned. In the pocket.
Fast women and slow horses, my friend. That's basically where it's all going to go for the next 12 to 18 months until I get some idea where the world's actually going to come to its senses.
Okay, guys.
Good job on that.
All good? Can we go home?
Thank you so
I
much.
practice social distancing from 5 p.m. onwards.